All right, so this is a video on constructing the median of a triangle. So the median is a point where a vertex and a midpoint meet. So a vertex and then its opposite midpoint. So we'll write that down. So it connects a vertex and it's, oops, wrong apostrophe, it's opposite sides midpoint. So how do we find a midpoint? Turns out it's the same as finding a perpendicular bisector. So this guy here comes from a perpendicular bisector. Because if you found the bisector, also known as the midpoint, then you can connect wherever that happens to be with its opposite side. So in order to get this started, the first thing I'm going to do is create two circles, one on each of the endpoints that I'm trying to find the midpoint of, and then one of the across from the vertex that I'm looking for. So again, here's my vertex, and I'm trying to find the midpoint of this side. All right, so if I create two circles, we talked about it in the other videos, but the idea is that your center of your compass, so this is our compass for the schools so that we don't have pointy edges, so here it is. We put the center on the vertex itself, and then I'm going to choose a dot to put my pencil in that is more than halfway across, because if I don't do more than halfway, then I'm not going to have two circles that meet. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one here. You can definitely see that that radius that I've constructed is more than half of the distance. And then I'm going to do it over here. So same place where my pen is. So as you've seen in other videos, I don't necessarily create the remainder of this circle because that's just not important in our meeting points. So I've now created two circles with the same radius, and that is what I'm going to put on my directions here. So if you're going to construct a median, again, the first thing that you want to do is create two circles with the same radius on the vertice. We'll call it create two circles with the same radius on the endpoints. Of the segment. So as you can see, I put circles at the endpoints of the segment opposite of the intended vertex. And again, the reason is I'm intending to have this vertex connect to a center point over here. And so we want to make sure that we are doing the two circles for the opposite sides vertices. Again, the reason that we are doing this is so that the radius of the circles creates a cat eye, so the radius of the circles should be greater than half the length of the side. Again, otherwise a cat eye will not be formed. All right, so taking a look at this guy, we have now created a cat eye. So that's this guy here, if you can kind of imagine a cat. We're looking for this point here and this point here. So those 2 points are very helpful because if we connect them, and this line you don't need to do like we did in the other video, so this one can actually just be the connection of both of them. This line will create a midpoint. So once we create that midpoint, again, now we have this segment here, which is going to be equal to this segment here in length. And if we connect this red dot that we just made and our vertex, we now have a median. So what happens a lot of times is people will take this perpendicular bisector that we just made and they'll just continue it, and maybe it'll come in contact with this vertex, but it won't always. So instead we want to be very specific, and we say we want to connect the vertex to the midpoint, and so you can see that it is going to be ever so slightly off of the line itself. So this right here is the median. Again, from the middle of one side to its opposite vertex. So taking a look at what we did here, the second step was to connect the points where the circles intersect. Once we connect the points where the circles intersect, then we find the median. So the median is the midpoint. Is the place where the line from number 2 meets the side it bisected. All right, so that was here. We've got our midpoint, and we've created this red line that cut it in half, and so now we have a midpoint. And then we need to do our last step, which is actually creating the median. So we just connect the midpoint from step number 3 with its opposite vertex. And so that's where we got this line here, the median, connecting this midpoint to this vertex. All right, so that is our median construction. And again, it comes from connecting a vertex and its opposite side's midpoint, and we got the midpoint by creating a perpendicular bisector.